Hey everyone, it's Daniel Elwood and Robert Paul Johnson, and I are the Last Nighters. You can find us at lastnighters.com. And tonight we're going to be talking about the great Norm MacDonald's film Dirty Work, directed by Bob Saget. And this is episode 190 of the show. You can find the show notes more at lastnighters.com/196. And we are going to be having a great guest. She's been on many times in the past, though it seems like we go through fits and starts with her. Like it'll be months with not having her on, and then we have her on, and it's like we have her on like 2, 3, 4 times over the course of a very short period of time. We're going to do the same with this appearance because we're going to have her on next week as well. We're going to be doing Dirty Work tonight. And originally scheduled, we were just going to do the Goonies with her because I will be actually in or about the location where that film was shot. And then tragedy struck with Norm MacDonald, and she had posted a few things on Facebook in remembrance. And I was like, all right, fine, we got to do Dirty Work. So we slotted this one in. And thank you, Raylene, for being willing to come on not only once, but two times. So welcome back to the show, Raylene.
Thanks. My pleasure. You know how much I love you guys. So, plus Norm MacDonald. You know, this movie doesn't have a whole lot of meat, like you were saying, but it's tasty. So I can't wait to play.
Right. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And you have been on, like I said, a number of times in the past. Now, I won't be able to recall all of them, but it's often been either 80s or 90s movies like Karate Kid or rom-coms. I think we did the Billy Crystal Meg Ryan.
Did we do Outbreak?
No, we did Contagion, the not quite Outbreak one. We could do Outbreak. I remember we did Contagion, and it was early. It was like in February of last year. So it was back when it was a Chinese situation, like very limited information coming out. And I feel like we did okay in our discussion with very, very limited knowledge of what was happening.
Yeah. And it's just getting more and more ridiculous. The movie was annoying because of how much faith they placed in certain entities, and now it's even more annoying, isn't it?
Right. It was almost like a blueprint, you know, that and 1984.
Yeah, and then we did Eternal Sunshine, which was actually my favorite podcast that I did with you guys.
Yeah.
That was really a great movie. I had some, like, a lot of people reach out. They like that one.
Yeah, you got into the emotional and spiritual on that, and I recall that discussion because I got all weird about it because I was like, oh, she's talking about emotion. I don't happen to have any.
Oh, that's really funny because I seem to remember Norm MacDonald talking on this in this movie about how he wasn't good at expressing emotions. So that's why Dan started a podcast. Instead of getting a note recorder to say note to self, he started a podcast to work through his emotions.
Right. Note to self, don't have Raylene on again.
Psychoanalyze, damn it.
All right. Well, how we start this off is with the Google description. And Robert, if I can cue you up for some noise making.
I'll see what I can do. Oh, I'm late. Because it looks like, you know.
Look, yeah, it's like it's been riveted in there or whatever. All right. So
that's right.
Google description, Dirty Work, came out 1998, directed by Bob Saget. PG-13, comedy/buddy film, hour and 21 minutes. I appreciate the brevity of the film. 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, 14% Rotten Tomatoes, 81% of Google users like it. The description reads, friends Sam, played by Artie Lange, and Mitch, Norm MacDonald, need $50,000 to pay for Sam's dad's heart surgery. When they're fired for getting revenge on their abusive theater owner boss, they have a great money-making idea, a revenge-for-hire business. The friends are soon successful, but not all their clients are good customers. When real estate developer Travis Cole, played by Shooter McGavin, tricks them into vandalizing a building that isn't his, Sam and Mitch concoct their best revenge plan yet. Release date of June 12, 1998, directed, of course, by Bob Saget. Box office of $10 million, so it didn't really do that well. But Robert, if I recall, one of our mutual acquaintances cites this as one of his favorite films. And I'll go to you for your opening, please.
Yes, indeed. The Negotiator. This is one of his favorite films, if not the favorite. Well, until I think it was eclipsed by Straight Outta Compton. So,
Oddly.
but Norm MacDonald is one of his favorite comedians. And I've always enjoyed Norm's comedy. I always appreciated how fearless he was. And I always thought that was one of the main qualities that a comedian should possess, is just pure fearlessness. And he just didn't care. Didn't care if he was going to get fired. He was going to call it like he saw it and make fun of who he was going to make fun of. And so I think we all appreciate that, and to a certain extent. The movie, I don't know why comedians. I mean, I get it that they're basically just vehicles to tell jokes. So, but I don't understand why they always have to be so lazy with the plot. It's copy pasted from Half Baked, Happy Gilmore, where they just they need money for some reason, and so they start a business. In Half Baked, they started a weed business. In Happy Gilmore, he starts playing golf.
Hey, Ghostbusters.
Did they need money in Ghostbusters?
They are great entrepreneurs.
Yeah, but that one wasn't.
They didn't need them. Well, they needed jobs, right? Because they got fired from their university posts, I think.
Yes, one of them was. But
right, I'm derailing you.
You are derailing me. And the plot in this movie, they even steal the villain from Happy Gilmore for this one.
And Happy Gilmore as the devil.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sandler plays a great devil in this movie for some reason. Just throw in all their friends. It's all good. It's good to see Chris Farley. Okay. Anyway, though, in terms of the show, I was disappointed. I mean, it's a fun premise, obviously, and it's probably ripe for some comedy bits, I would think. But it was a little bit disappointing that the protagonists are capitalist entrepreneurs that destroy things, and the villain is a capitalist entrepreneur that builds things. For some reason, he's the evil guy, whereas our heroes are these guys that go around destroying things. I mean, obviously, they have the villain be an asshole, but it's kind of a dick move to destroy the guy's bulldozer.
Well, they were mostly peaceful about destroying that bulldozer. I'm
sure and it was funny in the way they did it, which is important. I think if the rioters had just covered the cities in Laffy Taffy or popcorn, I think we'd all be a lot happier about things. But the movie itself, I think it sinks or swims on whether it makes you laugh, of course. And I smiled a lot through this, and I think I laughed once, but I don't think it necessarily holds up. 2021 Robert just doesn't think putting fish in the wall is super funny. I don't know.
It's funnier now that you say it than when I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted his bits to be a little more clever. That's one thing I could say. I thought that the car with the horse in the trunk was obviously the best bit. I thought that was funny, although he would be sued into oblivion for defamation by the car guy. But
you need to suspend your need for reality a little bit in a comedy.
For sure. Yeah, because this business obviously would not exist more than 2 seconds without being sued into oblivion by everybody.
No, it'd be like a guy and you have to go to a dark, seedy bar to get a hold of this guy. It would
right.
Be
you wouldn't
definitely
advertise.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a big sign that said dirty work. Our rates are reasonable.
It's a great business. You just not above board. Yeah.
Yeah. You would be hanging out in a bar. You'd have a guy that was a guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Pagers and shit.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying here, Robert. And especially when one is familiar with Norm and his stand-up and his his interviews and things like that are always hilarious. And he has like this great, just deadpan kind of stoic delivery with a lot of things and emphasis and kind of sort of the wrong area. And that's what's edgy about it. You kind of expected to see that in this film, and you kind of don't really. Like, it sort of comes through a little bit here and there, but in a way, you know, you're watching Dirty Work and you're like, oh, Norm MacDonald's in that, I'm expecting X, and you sort of get a little bit of Y. And I don't know if that was intentional, or maybe I'm just reading it wrong or whatever, but I had not actually seen this movie. I remember the negotiator, our mutual friend, who says that if somebody breaks into your house, it's your duty to negotiate with them when they're holding your family hostage, rather than defending yourselves with any tool that's available to you. But that he really liked this film. And so I had been wanting to watch it for years just to see what the buzz was about from our mutual friend. And I got to say, I don't understand.
Did this movie make you laugh?
Maybe once or twice.
Ask yourself if it would have made you laugh in 1998, please. I'm sorry. I know it's not my turn, but
yeah, you stay in your place.
Well, it's hard to answer that question, though, Raylene. I mean,
we're very different now.
I think it made me laugh more. I think the first time I saw it, back in the day.
Yes.
But my memory is real fuzzy of those times. We're talking about a long time ago.
I will say this. I like the contemporary films of the same era more than this film. Like, I still like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, and
higher
those
budget.
Right, but they're sort of in the same like vein, the same like SNL players, Lorne Michaels produced, whatever, you know. Those ones still hold up for me. This one, I don't know if it really does. And just one anecdote, and then we'll get to you, Raylene, for your reaction to Robert's opening salvo. If Robert's even done, I just started butting in because
sorry, Robert.
Well, I'm just some kind of an asshole here, but Robert is appropriately named the Saigon Whore, and a Saigon Whore bit off the nose of the Chris Farley character, which, ironically enough, Artie Lange, who stars in this film, and back in the time when this came out, or when he was on the Howard Stern show, there was like this morbid joke about how he was on this path of destruction, which he was. He was doing a lot of heroin and cocaine and living really rough. There was a Artie Lange death watch, like, website or something like, hey, we're taking bets on when Artie's going to die, right? He is still alive and is in recovery. He's 2 years sober. And his nose now looks like Chris Farley's nose in this film.
Why?
From all the coke.
Holy shit. He does he plays on a TV show that was on HBO, and I don't know if it's still coming back. It was called Crashing. It was all about comedians. Oh, you guys, I can't get enough of comedy stuff. It's called Crashing. Have you guys seen this show?
No.
It's pretty good. And Artie Lange is in it, and he plays himself. And a bunch of comedians are in it, and they play themselves. And it's all about trying to get a career and build a career in comedy. I highly recommend it. It's just give it a try. But he was in it, and he does a really great job, I think.
Okay, yeah. And I only bring it up because of the poor joke quality of
how bad was that makeup on that nose? Can we just did you see it was like, look, it's like clear, like glued on, like silica, like thin on his nose. It's just so bad. And it's just amazing. I love everything that's so bad in this. This is
okay. Well, speaking of bad, obviously the acting atrocious, especially the love interest. But Raylene,
the love story was cringe, pretty
Isn't
bad.
that Joy from Two Guys, a Girl at a Pizza Place with Ryan Reynolds?
No idea.
You guys, Ryan Reynolds' first big job was a TV show called Two Guys, a Girl at a Pizza Place.
I remember the show.
Wasn't this the girl, and didn't she play a woman named Joy?
I remember having awareness of the show, but never.
This is outside of my pay grade. I don't know.
Yeah,
okay,
I remember Ryan Reynolds was
in that show, but
I remember him. I remember him from Waiting.
Waiting.
That was
so
before Two Guys and a Girl, right?
No, that was after, for sure after.
And wasn't he also in like Van Wilder?
Van Wilder. Oh, he was. Yeah, that came out around the same time, maybe 2 years later after Dirty Work.
Okay, where he's like basically Deadpool but without the mask.
Oh, I
He's
thought
that
Van
way in
Wilder.
every movie, though. Honestly, it's not a romance.
It was like a combination of a poor version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and then what's the movie that it was really great with John Belushi, the frat
Oh,
house.
Animal House.
Animal
Yes.
House. It's like a combo of that. It's pretty
Right.
disgusting. I don't know if you remember what they did with the dog's balls, but and they filled up eclairs with
Did they get like really big for
yeah,
like
he had really
unknown
huge
reasons?
balls, and then they used something from his balls and put it in eclairs and gave it to people. It was you guys, it was disgusting.
I do
It
remember
was
that now. Yeah.
the shock. The shocking stuff was really big. The gross out humor was really big in the late 90s. Remember, Something About Mary was the beginning of all of that, I
Yeah,
believe.
98. Yeah, when this came out. Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to escalate and push the envelope like as far as they could with each new movie that came out throughout the
Mhm,
mid 2000s. And then
mhm.
I don't know what happened in the last 5+ years, but it seems like it went the other direction. And in the pre-show, you talked about how comedy, how it's kind of changed over time. I think now comedy is like really hurting.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, it's so politicized, okay? And I think people are tired of that. And so I think people got burnout on the Trump stuff, to be honest. I know that I think everyone's burnt out. I think
Yeah.
everyone's burnt out with everything. And so I think that really hit comedy hard. Then we had, like, we were talking about the Daily Show earlier in the pre-show also. We were talking, right, I think it was the pre-show. So we were talking about the Daily Show. And it that's when that was the right time for that. That was the right time to start talking about the world that way. It was the right time to start doing a political comedy like that, where outside of SNL, doing their fake news, which is another Norm MacDonald nod. So it is we got burnout and we're tired of it. And I think that they didn't have a whole lot to jump in with something new and different. And it's still kind of hurting, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
but isn't a lot of it though have to do with the cancel culture though? Like remember when Roseanne got killed
yes,
or whatever for her joke? I recently heard Bill Burr. He does a weekly podcast.
I love Bill.
And
I was just going to bring him up. He's my favorite.
okay, so he recently came out and said that for the past few years he has pulled back his comedy and toned it down for fear of, oh, should I really say that? What are they gonna respond to? Am I gonna get trashed on Twitter or
The
whatever?
pendulum is swinging.
It's my
It's gonna go back.
so
It has to.
he said that he had for the past few years muted himself and that he regrets that and that he is not going to do that anymore.
Oh,
Now,
hell
whether that
yeah.
happens remains to be seen. We'll find
Paper
out.
Tiger. Did you watch Paper Tiger? His last big stand-up on Netflix.
Is that the one that was filmed in England?
Oh shit, man, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I think it is, and I think I did see that. It
I
was
was
before I
so
got rid of
impressed.
Netflix.
You guys, the evolution of this man, bringing you along in his real life, that's important. Okay, you got to put a little bit of your actual self in it. Again, his comedy matters. Okay, so here's the deal: this is still art. Comedy is art. It is a craft, and Bill Burr is known for saying audacious things. Burr is known for saying things that are not politically correct. He's known for being angry and emotionally unavailable, and it's a big part of his bit. I've always identified as the female Bill Burr. I'm not kidding. All right, I get him. I get him, and in this last, he's bringing his audience with him. I mean, he's married to his wife who's black, so he starts bringing in race issues in a new way, in a deeper way, but he does it in a funny way where he's not shaming people he's teaching. He starts talking about getting rid of his dog, adopting the dog was really important to him because he had somebody to take care of it, and he's shared that in his previous things. And he's talking about that and having to get rid of this dog and how he just pushes his feelings down into that anger shelf right here for every man. I love that he's talking about wanting to grow and be a better man for his daughter. And he's bringing his audience into emotional health and maturity. And I think that's a hard thing to do and still be funny. I was very impressed. Sharing about what his dad used to do, like on another level. Now you know why he's so angry when his dad bought he and his brother dolls and made him pose with the dolls in pictures. And
Oh.
because he would call them sissy boys all the time and things like that. And like he made it funny, beautiful. Like you're hearing these abusive stories, and he's really sharing a piece of himself, still funny. That's remarkable. Very hard to get to the real shit and still be funny. So holla, love him. Sorry,
Yeah,
got off.
it's great you bring up Bill Burr, because I put him in a similar sort of categorical alignment as Norm MacDonald, with the kind of delivery and the sort of the things he'll touch on. So if anyone's going to kind of pick up that torch, I think Bill Burr might be a worthy successor to Norm's style.
Different though. I think he can take it. It's a different kind of depth. It's a growth. Norm MacDonald didn't always show his growth. I mean, he staunchly, stubbornly refused to grow.
He was deeply closeted.
And he says it all the time. He's always making jokes about how he's actually gay. It's so funny. I mean, there were so many of those good 90s jokes about the gay jokes and not wanting to look gay, but maybe being gay. I was like, oh man, it's like a throwback to like watching Friends and shit. So funny. But yeah, I think that Norm MacDonald, I think he refused to grow. I think that he was very repressed emotionally in a lot of ways, and he only in the last 10 years started really sharing more emotional pieces of things, and he'd always do it about somebody else. He'd always be telling another story about somebody else, and then you could kind of see his heart in it. You could kind of see the tenderness in him, and that he has a deep well of emotions. But again, I don't think he's comfortable with them, and I think he definitely reminds me of somebody who's very stubborn and contrarian. I love him. He's so contrarian. I don't think he had an easy life, you guys. He could have been so much more successful. I don't think he had a huge amount of money. No matter what he's doing out there, he was working, because I don't think he had a huge amount of financial success. And I think it was because he did do it his way. And we have to respect that on some level. He didn't sell out. Not once. He just didn't. So he's a complex man. Do you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was always I mean, if you contrast Burr and MacDonald, Burr kind of, I mean, he probably holds some things back. He's probably personal about some things. But MacDonald was like a wall. I didn't know anything about his personal life, and I'm sure that was intentional on his part.
Well crafted.
Yeah, he was just very much, I'm going to tell some jokes, and I'm just like in this particular style, and that's all you get out of him.
Oh yeah, and you never knew. Yeah, you never knew what was true.
And he was known for being a really good liar, guys. Like well known that you never know when he's telling the truth. I was watching Norm MacDonald has a show. Have you guys seen that on Netflix back in the day when he did that one series? One, oh my gosh, what a genius! He is such a genius. So one interview, somebody kept trying to ask him about his son and being a father, and they kept flipping it on him, trying to get personal, and he started getting really like, ooh, he started like pulling his collar, getting hot, and he was not liking it. He was like, okay. Like he kept trying to like switch it around, and then they kept bringing it back. And you could tell that he was getting visibly flustered. He does not want to share anything that he doesn't choose to share. It was very obvious. I mean, here I am psychoanalyzing again, but I'm telling you, I saw it. Yeah.
All right, Robert, you're going to make a comment about Burr.
Oh, well, just how Burr is almost the polar opposite, in that he shares so much of his life. If you were to watch his comedy, you get the idea that all these stories are pulled from his real life. And then if you listen to his podcast, you really get a sense of who this person is and how he's because it's just him talking for an hour off the top of his head,
sports,
about everything that's happening in his life.
Yeah.
So you really got to know his dog, and you felt for him when he was like, oh man, I got to get rid of this dog. I love this dog so much. I got to get rid of it now. And how much pain he caused him. Yeah, it endeared him to me a lot, even if he was a flawed individual, even if he knew absolutely fuck all about economics, even if he was still a Malthusian and he wanted half the world's population to die. I still love the guy. I mean, he lives in LA and there's just traffic all over the place. So you think the world's overpopulated, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Norm, I still love the guy, but he was very much an enigma. And I'm sure each side is equally valid. But I don't know if that engenders as much love.
Well, how do you be vulnerable with somebody who isn't vulnerable with you? So that's something that you're subconsciously picking up on no matter what. I mean, you guys get it. Men especially have these walls up. Women are social creatures. We're doing the legwork so that you can have extra friends. You know what I mean? We're finding your community for you. That's why you get a wife, is to do all that shit for you, right? And I mean, I'm saying some sexist stuff again. Here I go. And
at least it's you.
yeah, right. So I mean, no, for real. I mean, and so men have these walls up. It's very hard for men to be close with other men easily. It's very hard to, and a lot of men feel close to another man, even though they never share their feelings. So that is just part of, I'm not going to call it some bullshit like toxic masculinity. I just think that that's just how guys are. And that makes sense. They need to be impenetrable. And those tender feelings make you uncomfortable. Now, if a guy is not a pussy, I'm going to do it. If a guy's not a pussy, and he's not like crying all the time, but he's like being really real with you and being emotionally vulnerable and being a cool person that's sharing themselves honestly, then you would naturally feel safer. Just like when someone offers their hand in a handshake, you're going to see that they're coming at you correct. And then you're able to actually be yourself in front of them. So, of course you're picking up on that about Norm MacDonald. The truth is, I know that I love Norm MacDonald. And I know that I would win over Norm MacDonald. I know that I would win him over and he would fall deeply and madly in love with me as a friend. That said, at first, he would hate my fucking guts. He'd want to run away and get away from me because I'm too deep, too much. And it would scare him because I'd see right into his soul. I know that. That's the kind of person we're looking at. I think this is a person who doesn't want anyone to know him unless he chooses it. And I think it takes a lot. That's what I personally think.
Okay. So I just want to circle back using that already tired term on the Bill Burr, Norm MacDonald. I think it's for me, it's the style of delivery and the not giving a fuck and being able to play a joke to its end.
Hot.
So that it becomes funny the longer you go.
Yes, it does. And then when it stops being funny, it stops being funny. You keep going. It stops. It's not funny. It's not funny. You keep going. Oh shit. It's even funnier now. I mean, that is like recipe for comedy. If you can pull it off and you can stick with it. This man in his interviews, especially on The View, when he's talking with all those women that are just over the top of him, every time they interrupt him, he starts answering what they're saying in the middle of his story. And then they look at him like, okay, like get on with it. And then he starts back from before where they even interrupted him. And he starts over again. And it's a punishment. He's fucking them off on purpose, you guys. I love him for this. If you want to keep interrupting me, we'll just go back. And it becomes even funnier the fourth, fifth time that he has to repeat the story again to get where he's going because they keep stop. Oh my God, you guys, the commitment to not letting them talk over him without there being a consequence is amazing. Like, can you imagine being married to this guy? Oh my God.
Yeah, he just gave no fucks about it. And Robert, I wonder if our mutual friend likes Norm particularly because similar to Norm and you not really knowing if what he's saying is what he truly believes, I think that our mutual friend is similar. And when you debate him or talk to him about anything, he will just take the opposite side just for the sake of doing it. And you don't know what he actually believes, and he will never admit to what he actually believes.
Absolutely, yeah. They're both enigmas, and they are fairly stoic, and so you don't know what you're actually dealing with. Yeah, I would completely agree, and that's probably why he appeals to him so much.
All right, so I know we just sidetracked for probably half the show here, but Raylene, what's your take on Dirty Work?
Okay, yeah. So, I'm here for Norm. I'm here for the cameos. I actually have a little bit of a contrasting opinion to Robert's that there is no plot. Yeah, it's horrible. And it's gets worse when they try to adhere to the plot. The first half of the movie is perfect for what it was. And okay, perfect might be stretching it, but let's just say if what it is a bunch of little sketches, little ideas that he roped together and put in one movie, or they did, and that's great. That's what that was. That's what Basketball was too, but the plot was better. And when they really tried to stick to loop it all together and make it all succinct in the end, I feel like that's kind of where they lost us a little bit. And I would have prefer just a bunch of sketches put together and roughly sewn together, because that's where the gold was, in my opinion, and just keep it as what it is. I mean, why are we trying to pretend it's a real movie? Why are we even trying to pretend by trying to adhere to the plot in any way? It's silly. Um, there is not just the bits, like we were talking about the prostitutes in the cars and the just all the little pieces. There's mostly mediocre, but the way all the lines are delivered is so good. I can't even handle it. I mean, I have the weirdest notes here, but I wrote kept the bar low. And I like that. I like that that's what it was supposed to be. But here's the thing. I also wrote deconstructed, but not lowbrow. What I love about the way they do the jokes is there are lowbrow jokes, but there's something really special about taking clever lines and then they're sprinkling them in, and there's so much in it that you don't even hit them all. You don't even hear them all, how funny they actually are. And a lot of times my husband didn't even laugh until I repeated it, and then he realized how funny it was, that's so wonderful. And it reminds me of those fancy restaurants where they do deconstructed versions of these really fancy meals, and they're still fancy, but they're just not the same. And they're very simple, and I felt like that was happening. I wrote quote not funny. Quote not funny. That to me just makes me laugh right now. That is, if you doing a comedy that's not funny, but that is still funny, it's maybe I'm just assigning too much depth to this, but I don't think I am. And everything you guys has also said was true. Played with syllables, emphasis in the wrong places on words and in sentences, which is part of Norm's genius. I wrote plain talk to the point of exaggeration. Just think about the way I said that, and I want you to picture how he delivers his lines. He every time he goes up to the prostitutes or the homeless people, he calls them homeless people in the sentence. It is so brilliant because he's plain talking and it's so simple, but he says all the other words that we never do in context. Okay? He says all of the extra words. It is so different, and it makes it look like it's bad acting. It's intentionally bad acting. That is next level. I love that. And then I wrote
So bad it's good. Okay.
yeah, clever, quick, simple, deep layers, sarcasm that makes you wonder if he was ever actually serious. So when he is being sarcastic, and he's obviously being sarcastic, you're like, wait, does he actually believe this? Because I think he might. And whenever he says things super genuinely, you always think, wait, is he being sarcastic? And I think that he has mastered the ambiguity that other comics try to touch upon and can hit in pieces. He does it every time. Every single thing he says, you question it. And the reason I fell in love with my husband is because he's the most interesting person I've ever met. And I figure people out quickly. And he has been the most interesting person I've ever known. We've been together 20 years. And I will say Norm MacDonald is also one of the most interesting people I wish I'd have met, because there's a lot going on there and it's fun. So the movie is fun, silly, layered. Dumb people can laugh. Smart people will laugh at different things. And this movie would, if you have very low expectations, then you can get down on it. Plus, it has a really, really fun 90s soundtrack. And I liked it.
Man. I was going to call out the soundtrack and say it was to the point of distraction. It was sort of like in So I Married an Axe Murderer, like all those mid-90s songs. They're just like, it's overwhelming. It doesn't blend into the film at all.
That's why I liked it.
Okay. So
It's just
because
a
it
shit
stood out so
show.
much. Yeah.
It's not just shit show. They did everything wrong. Everything about it's wrong. When you're smiling, when you're saying every one of your lines when you shouldn't be smiling, that's already his style to his comedy. It has to be intentional, guys. It cannot be that big of an accident. I'm sorry. Nobody can stumble. That's like, that movie, The Man Who Knew Too Little with Bill Murray. Do you guys remember that movie?
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God. Please watch that movie. Jesus. Okay. It's hilarious. I know we can't do a podcast because Robert doesn't like comedies, but let me tell you, it's really funny. I'm just kidding.
This is not true. I don't know where this rumor came from.
He says it every time we're on the show together, actually. Like, just so you know. Yeah, no. So it's kind of like that bumbling idiot that Forrest Gump, but a comedy, right? Where you're so stupid and everything just keeps working out and it all just works out perfectly. That's what this movie is, and it's not an accident. It is meant to be this bad. It is meant to be.
Maybe I need to watch this movie again, and maybe I do view Norm MacDonald as being a genius level intellect, and that's why he can so quickly do the comedic bits he does, especially in his interviews and things like that.
His interviews are better. Yeah.
Right. But so maybe watching this again will give me a greater appreciation for that, because in this, and it's not just his acting, but it's like the love interest and Artie's and any of the other bit players, they're like soap opera-esque, like that bad. You know what I mean? Just like the delivery is just not good.
Please watch Artie in that show just for an episode, okay, of Crashing. You're going to see that he knows how to act, and then you're going to realize that it's on purpose. I'm telling you, it is so weird how these people who can act. I mean, we've seen Spanglish. We know that Happy Gilmore can actually act. We know he can. All right. It's intentional. And it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but that blows my mind that anyone would make this movie intentionally bad, just like you were talking about with the producers. But it feels like the biggest troll. I mean, you saw him with Bob Saget on his roast, you know, and he did something
intentionally bombing.
That's, you guys, I'm telling you, there is something to what I'm saying here. He doesn't do anything on accident. Even when he gets there, makes an actual mistake and forgets the guy's name that in the joke that he tells a story and he's pretending it's true in an interview, right? And he says somebody's name and then he changes the name, like on the Conan interview, and he just rolls with it like it's part of it. You don't really know if he was planning on changing and altering that guy's name every time he told the joke. You don't know. That's how smart he was. You never know. And I like the guessing game on that. I think it's cerebral, actually.
Right. I really like the Bob Saget roast. And because of the enigma that Norm is, and you can never really tell if what he's saying is true or not, when he gets emotional at the end of that roast and says that he actually has love for Bob Saget, that really shines through. And Bob Saget did a podcast where he just poured his heart out like a day or two after Norm died. I just listened to it today, and he's recalling all these moments, and it's pretty powerful. You know, like they were very, very close for a long time. And he said that the last text that they had with each other was Norm sent him like a week before he died, like, "I love you, Bob." And
I'm not getting emotional over here. That's so weird.
Right. And so, you know, I'll post that because both of those, like the roast is really good and Bob Saget's take is really good. And apparently only like 10 or 15 minutes of the roast aired. And there's like another 5 or 10 minutes that got cut that the people who were there were like, you know, they were in for a treat because like that was the good stuff that got cut out by Comedy Central.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, so I am actually such a fan. And it is because he's one of the most interesting people that is an enigma, like you're saying. I think that everyone else is boring, guys. Like, let's be really honest. So many people are boring. They're likable enough, but they're boring. Real people, celebrities, comedians, even. Once you get the shtick, you get the shtick. You do it like la la la. You want something to just entertain you and be on, and that will just distract you from whatever the fuck is going on in your brain that you don't want to think about. And that's what we do this for, right? And I am like a worker dog. I want to do something when I'm being distracted from all my bullshit. So I like to have somebody throw me off and be difficult to read and to make me go, what's really going on here? It's a puzzle, and I like it. Anyway, so Dirty Work, not a great movie. It's not a great movie. But I will always watch Dirty Work if it's on TV. No one watches TV anymore, like that's a thing. But let's say I did and I stumbled upon Dirty Work, I'd watch it. Yeah.
All right, Robert, would you watch Dirty Work again if it wasn't to do an episode of this podcast? If it were just on, would you watch it?
If it was on, I would have it on in the background and go about my day doing other things. My issue with the film is much like you said at the very beginning, that you know Norm and you like Norm, and you watch this movie because you like Norm. There's no other real reason you're watching this film.
Yep.
And I wanted more Norm. Like every time, like things that Raylene's saying are absolutely true. It's very nuanced type character, and his humor is very nuanced. And I wanted more of that. And like Raylene was saying, when they try and turn it into a story, it kind of falls down a bit. I wanted, it feels like Norm starred in the movie and he helped write it, but I wanted more of his input in the whole
instead of playing
production.
Mitch, you want to just Norm being Norm, and you just want 2 hours of Norm talking and doing bits and maybe his own sketch comedy show instead, right? Like you just rather have Norm.
I'd rather Norm, like the Weekend Update Norm, where he's talking shit about OJ and how murder is now legal in California.
Yeah.
You guys. Oh my gosh. Just the little bits though. No. Like, you guys, I've been doing that bit for like 20 years now. Okay. Like I've been personally doing that bit for so long. No, because it's so ridiculous. Right? Like there's some great quotes in this movie. There's just moments. So if you ever watch it and it's on in the background, if you ever put it on, just the parts that are not even that nobody laughs at, those little tiny parts that nobody's laughing at, there's always a one-liner in there that's just ridiculous and actually way funnier than you think it is. But just keep an eye on it.
Well, our friend and frequent guest Mike C is watching the live show, The Sausage Get Made. He's akin to our Patreon supporters. He said that they actually added canned laughter to the film, so I think that lends credence to your theory there, Raylene.
Thank you very much.
They kind of went out of the way to like do everything they could to like kind of make it
just fucked it off. They were like, "Hey, everyone, give us a lot of money. Let's fuck this up on purpose." That's what they did. They got every celebrity in there, and they were like, "Let's make the world's worst movie." I mean, this is a joke. This is a troll. Very, very Norm, and Bob Saget actually.
Oh, apparently he's talking about the roast. My bad. But I know there was a studio audience there at the roast.
That makes
there,
sense.
Mike. But it might have been in the movie too. I wasn't listening for that. I was so distracted by the Spin Doctors and Third Eye Blind.
Call me baby. Is that right?
Yeah, just oh man. Yeah, those mid-90s movies. So over the top.
There's AC/DC in it though.
Okay.
Well, it had to have Dirty Deeds in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Now apparently this concept of a story was based on a Roald Dahl story called Vengeance Is Mine Incorporated. And Roald Dahl, of course, did James and the Giant Peach and the Fox.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Because I've done a Roald Dahl podcast on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I did a podcast on a different podcast for another movie, by the way.
You whore.
Saigon whore.
Saigon whore.
If you want to keep your noses, you better shut your fucking mouth, okay? No, I'm just kidding. No, so I did that, and I'm a huge Roald Dahl fan. I've never heard of that. Can you name it again? I'm going to write it down.
It's called Vengeance Is Mine Incorporated.
Wow,
so
I had no idea.
Roald Dahl did a bunch of novelizations and novels and stories, and a lot of them have been turned into movies and other things. There was a movie we did a few months ago. I forget which one it was in particular, but it also was based on a Roald Dahl story. And it reminds me of Philip K. Dick, who wrote tons of stories, and a lot of those turned into sci-fi,
Kind
movies
of
and
different.
shows and things. Right, but the kernel of the idea is this like certain thing, and then they turn it into another movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Roald Dahl was the best children's author I think ever, and he's one of my favorite authors. As a child, I voraciously just input. I couldn't get enough. The Witches is so brilliant. That book, I love reading it. I try to do the accents. I'm very bad at accents. Of the grandma who smokes the cigars. I don't know if you've ever read that. It's so amazing. But Roald Dahl, wow, yes.
Yeah, we got the book set, the Costco book set, and so the wife has read it to the kids. The whole all the stories. I think there was one they didn't like. It might have been The Witches because it was too scary.
Oh my god, it's so good. I'm like, I love it. Yeah.
All right. So, is there anything else about this particular movie that we want to cover off before we get into final summary review? And I'm not sure, like, what kind of rating system we want to use for this. I think I'm going to give it a sentimental score versus a more empirical score based on the actual values.
I'll just
in the
give
film.
both. A 4 and a 7.9. Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys like how they did the homeless situation every time the homeless, like the dismissal of the homeless people over and over and over again? Did you guys find that really funny?
I did find it funny when the homeless guy would go into like his story and all the travails he has gone through, and then everyone just stops listening to him or walks away or just
Anyway,
like,
here's your $2, homeless guys.
yeah.
He calls them homeless guys every time. Oh, and what about this quote? I wrote it down and I'm like laughing my ass off. And it says, "And you know how I feel about the homeless. They're human beings and they have no homes." Like,
Yeah, I think that Shooter McGavin there, he personified the uncaring politician just saying the things you're supposed to say, whatever the what's the right word for it, but the things that you're expected, the pandering, the things that you have to say that you don't really mean or care about at all. It's just like, if you don't say it, they'll notice.
But even the main characters, also the good guys, were doing the same thing to the homeless over and over and over again. And anytime that they had anything to share or that would humanize them, the joke and the shtick was, "Fuck them, they're just homeless people." And I feel like that, again, there's depth to that, and I find it very adorable and funny to put that in this movie, that they should be friends with the homeless people at this point. They work so closely with them, but they still have no names. They're just homeless people and no one wants to talk to them. And the whores, the prostitutes, and the whole calling them prostitutes, and that they don't have identities. I think that there's some social commentary there, to be honest.
Yeah. Now the one homeless guy who gives the long responses in the depths of his story, is he the same guy who played the school administrator or professor in Billy Madison who says, "My wife is the dirty, dirty whore"?
Yeah, he's the guy that awards no points. And
yeah, what you've just said is the dumbest thing. We're all now dumber for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I thought he looked familiar. And it's weird because, like I said, I like those other movies made around the same time period, and I still will watch them and enjoy them. This one I don't think measures up as much, even though it has a lot of the same characters. I think they were better in those other films, like that character, and also obviously Adam Sandler, but even
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase was actually pretty good in this.
He was pretty
good. I will
good.
give him that. Gosh, there's one. Shooter McGavin. Shooter McGavin is the best in Happy Gilmore, and in this, I just saw him as Shooter McGavin.
Yeah,
in a lesser form,
same character. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I don't think Bob was pulling him aside and saying, "Hey, we need some more depth in this character here, buddy. You got to thicken it up." And he's just like, "No, that's just do your play. Just do Shooter.
No
it's
depth
fine."
for anything. I mean, all of it. Even Pops doesn't even have a real name.
Yeah. And I like Don Rickles. His appearance was pretty funny because he's like this hard ass, theater owner guy. And I thought that it was clever some of the things they do to get revenge and to kind of spawn the dirty work. But the final one was a bit of a letdown. Like, I wanted something more clever, something that they were building up to that really had some payoff, and it just did not work for me.
It shit the bed at the end.
Yeah,
the bed.
there was
That's
nothing. The big
anticlimactic.
destroying having an old guy come out and chase around the opera singer
And then punch him in the stomach. That was it.
What?
I'm going to play the
How
tape.
is this a big,
I have a quote for this.
how's it that
I
a
was
clever
laughing so
thing?
hard, I almost shit my pants. Almost. Say.
Yeah, that might have been the funniest line in the movie.
Oh man, guys. Oh man.
But yeah, big letdown at the end. And there was something else I was going to say that was going to just be super good and funny, but I totally forgot what it was. So,
okay.
Same with all the people in this movie. Oh.
So, Robert, you got a final summary review there on deck, or any final notes before you get into that?
Well, I teased that we would talk a little bit about the moral question, so I suppose we should probably throw that in just a little bit. I know it's obvious that what they're doing is wrong.
Wait, why?
Oh, because they're destroying.
Let's just do it real fast.
Okay, they're destroying private property. They're defaming people that obviously don't have a bunch of murdered prostitutes in cars.
Okay, now here's the deal. What about if we had no police and the private police are privatized and people were hiring somebody to take care of business after they've been aggressed upon?
So they're a DRO. They're a dispute resolution organization.
Yeah, would this be okay? Yeah, like play with me.
Okay, I'm playing with you. I think that they would get hired by some people, but then not only would the dirty work people get serious social backlash, but then the people who hired them would also get some serious social backlash, because eventually the story would come out. Like, yeah, I was a jerk to this person, so they ruined my career. I mean, maybe the whole of Twitter. That's the entire story.
Yeah,
Twitter.
I mean, are we living in that now?
But I don't think that the diligence they go to they don't even figure out who owns the building that they just destroyed. They have to wait until they're told.
Okay, yeah, they're idiots, right?
Right.
But they are told by the guy that it is his building, and so they're destroying the building at the behest of who they believe to be the owner.
That's
right, but
yeah.
I don't think you can just take the guy's word for it.
So they're just a poorly run business, but the business itself might not be immoral, right?
What about the
I'm a troll, I'm sorry.
What? No, hold on. Let's talk about the fish in the house one. Mm-hmm. When they're just kind of like standing there, but they precipitate this gang war to start, basically. Do they bear any kind of culpability for that? Or are they just innocent bystanders? What do you guys think?
I'm trying to remember the specifics of that scene.
Me too.
So they are throwing fish all around the house. Which is hilarious, of course. Absolutely hilarious. Gut busting. But then this drug deal's going down inside this house.
Yes.
And the one guy says, I smell fish. Does something smell like fish? And they're like, what are you trying to say? Something's fishy about this deal?
Oh,
and then they all pull out guns.
like a code. Like
I don't
make the move now.
Yeah, I don't think that was their responsibility. Do you? I mean,
well, I don't think they could conceivably or rationally or a reasonable person would expect them to know that their actions would lead to people shooting each other. Generally speaking, you put some fish in a house, it doesn't necessarily start a gang war or whatever.
No, it's just funny.
It's so funny. I can't even handle it, how stupid this is and why it's making me laugh so hard. Okay. Here's the deal. In theory, if somebody has violated the NAP, let's just pretend, let's play with NAP, right? Like if somebody violates the NAP, then you can hire somebody to get you your restitution. So I think that dirty work has its place in a free society. I think that how it's done matters, and this is so unprincipled. It isn't consistent enough to actually all be okay. No, they didn't follow all the rules or do all the right things according to our actual principles. That said, in theory, I do think that that type of business could exist in a moral manner.
I do like the idea of there being a way to exact revenge on somebody who has wronged you. And let's say you're not particularly good at that kind of a thing. So you have people who've specialized and offer that as a service. I've seen things like you can send, not that I'm giving anyone any ideas here, but there are things you can, if somebody's pissed you off, you can send them a letter that's like full of glitter and it like makes a big mess when they open it or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a place
but
for
this but this movie is all about just people getting what they deserve because they're jerks or something like that. Like the lady that wanted the bulldozer to be destroyed, she just didn't want a parking lot nearby.
They're going to take down her building, weren't they?
They weren't in the process of knocking down her building. She lived next door. She just didn't want to live next to a parking lot.
Yeah, that's crap. Yeah, that's crap. I mean, it is loose on don't take shit from anybody. Don't take crap from anybody. That was the whole point. And then he learned his lesson, whatever that means. No. Okay, because he was still not taking crap from anybody. So that never made sense that he had this story arc where he no longer believes that that is what you should live your life by. Okay. He didn't even, it didn't even get negated or proved that they've learned their lesson. Okay, it's just also have a heart. Sure. Yeah, you think? I mean, so again, the plot, come on.
But he did get the people to stand up for themselves who were going to be wronged for whatever the nefarious Trevor guy wanted them to like get the building condemned so that he could then build a parking lot, right? I thought the building had to come down for the parking lot for the Opera House.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right.
The building was for the Opera House? No. He wanted to get the building condemned. Well, at least the story. Okay, so
yeah, because he wanted to build on it. Yeah.
So he was going to drive down the value of that thing, get it condemned, and then the other guy would forced to sell it to Shooter McGavin? Is that the story?
I think so. So he could build a parking lot for the Opera House.
No, he owned the.
No, he already was building a parking lot for the Opera House next to the old lady.
You know, this is what I get for not paying attention to a movie we're going to review on our fake review show.
Well, you couldn't pay attention because you were like, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen.
And the spin doctors were blasting in my head.
If you want to call me baby, go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's some Third Eye Blind in there too, right?
Yeah, there's some doot.
Yeah, there were some doo-doos for sure. Lots of doo-doos.
All right. Well, how many doo-doos are you going to give this, Robert, out of 10? How many doo-doos out of 10? Or fish in the wall, either way. How many 90s pop songs are you going to give this out of 10?
Yeah, this is like I would recommend it if you're a fan of Norm, of course, because I think you get a lot of Norm. I don't think you get enough Norm, but you get a lot. You get more than, there's no other movies where he's like the star of it, right? This is all you got. So if you want to see Norm in some sort of a kind of an acting role,
in a lead role,
acting,
a lead role, yeah, let's not say acting. Let's not be that generous. Then yeah, you would watch this. So I would say for people that are fans of Norm, I would say that's like a 6.5. But if you're looking for something else, I mean, if you're just looking for a fun comedy movie, or you're not a fan of Norm, then yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody.
So you wouldn't even give it any doo-doo-doos?
No, I give it 6.5 doo-doo-doos.
Yeah, if you're a Norm fan, but let's just say you're just average, If
you're just average and you're browsing by this as a movie to watch on your whatever subscription service, I would say you keep scrolling and watch something funnier. But I mean, yeah, I'd give it. Okay, I'll give it a 5. If you're not a Norm fan, you get an extra 1.5 if you're a Norm fan.
Okay, all right. See, I was going to give it a sentimental 4, and that's being generous. I did not think that this was a good movie. Perhaps that's the point, as Raylene was making that argument earlier. I love Norm MacDonald. I've followed him for years. I have been. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if it's by him or his agent or just some fans. It's called I'm Not Norm, and I had been watching those videos as recently as a few weeks ago. In fact, I made a meme with the Weekend Update, style that says, "Remember consent?" Yeah, that was great. And actually, the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus people used that as a meme, shared it on Facebook, and they got a fair amount of likes and shares. So, of course, nobody knows I made it until now. I'm the big reveal now, and some people commented, "Isn't it a little bit poor taste?" I mean, the guy just died, and I said, "No, I made this on September 9th. He didn't die till
September 11th. So
he died like 5 days later." Anyway, so yeah, a sentimental 4. Now, I view this discussion and us doing dirty work as sort of a remembrance of Norm in the spirit of his body of work. So I view it more as a celebration of his work, not particularly this movie. It just happened to be a vehicle with which we could talk about Norm MacDonald on our show. I do love him in Billy Madison, where his line is Billy says, "What day is it?" And Norm says, "October." He has like 2 lines in the whole thing, like eating sandwiches and October. And I think Norm, in small bits, he's hilarious. Is a lead in a movie, not so much, especially when he's like not as Norm as you expect to see Norm, like from his interviews and from SNL and things like that. But in his body work of like calling out the Clintons on The View, his Conan appearances, his original fake news on Weekend Update, where he went after OJ hard and eventually got fired for it. And mentioned how murder is now legal in California, which hilarious deadpan delivery. Yeah. And I blame Frank Stallone. So sentimental 4. So Raylene, what's your score, and how many 90s pop songs you giving this bad boy, or Fish on the Wall?
Okay, so Fish on the Wall would be, if you don't, it just as without Norm love, I'm gonna give it a 4. And for 90s pop songs, which is I Love Norm, I'm gonna give it a 7. I am gonna say that if you love Norm, you have to watch it. You just do. It's like a rite of passage. And just be a fan and watch the fucking movie. And then that's the tagline here. And Norm is always going to be the best with another person to play off of. I think that, I mean, he could do everything. His stand-up is great, but he has to be a contrarian in some way. He has to be messing with people in some way, and he gets bored with himself. It's very obvious, so he has to change it up. He has to try different things. I haven't watched that YouTube channel, but I have to say I want to. And the reason why I love watching Norm in all different things in succession, what I really enjoy about it is you watch him try different things. He still has a lot of the same shtick where he has he'll say something and then he'll like start have like a little smirk and then you don't know if he's serious. Like that's a shtick. That's a thing that he does consistently over the years. But sometimes his interviews will, like when he was interrupting and talking trash about the Carrot Top movie with what's that lady from Melrose Place and Revenge of the Nerds. What's her name?
Oh, I don't remember her name, but I remember his joke. It was the movie was Chairman of the Board.
BORED. Right? So yeah, so he was just being obnoxious and interrupting and doing that thing. He doesn't always do that. That's not what he would always do. And again, you get to see him do all different kinds of things with the different people he was interviewing on Norm MacDonald Has a Show on Netflix. So when he did that talk show, he's on there with David Spade and he's interrupting and talking over David Spade the entire time. The entire first episode, but they filmed him out of order, or they put him in out of order. So he was just messing with David Spade and wouldn't let him finish a story. It
Yeah,
was
that's the joke.
yes, that's his friend. So he was just fucking with him extra. Then he's flirting with Judge Judy, just being was it Judge Judy? He was flirting with one of them. I think it was Judge Judy. Um,
Yeah.
oh, was it another older lady? Hilarious. Okay. Like it was a different thing that he was doing every time. And he really plays the best off of another person
Yeah.
to make it weird and make it awkward and make it uncomfortable and keep people guessing. And so that's where the magic really is. And it's never going to be in a movie. He was never going to be a magical leading man ever. You get the best off the cuff. That is the shit. So
Yeah. In the Bob Saget remembrance, he said that Norm invited him on to Norm's latest project, a couple of years ago. And that was, I think Norm MacDonald had a show. And it had been a podcast for a while, and before it was a show, right? So he says, "Hey, Bob, you want to come over and be on my show, my podcast?" And Bob's like, "Yeah, okay, yeah. Do I need to be dressed in a certain way or anything? It's not a TV thing, is it?" And he goes, "No. It's just audio only, whatever." So Bob shows up. There's cameras everywhere. And it's a TV show, and Bob's like, "What the fuck, man?"
yeah, that sounds right. I think he messed with his friends the most, to be honest, and people he doesn't like, which is like Barbara Walters. It's just very funny. So you just you just got to roll with it. I think comedians are like that anyway. I think that's part of their culture.
Yeah, like they know with their friends they can get away with it. And with the people who aren't their friends that they don't like, they don't give a fuck anyway. So
It reminds me of my grandma always said, "Don't explain yourselves to anybody." This is my grandma. She was a badass. She goes, "Your friends don't need it, and your enemies won't believe you anyway." Like it was like the best advice, right? And you could apply it in lots of ways, just like that. Yeah.
Don't take no shit. All right. Well, Raylene, this has been a lot of fun, and what do you know? Next week, we're going to have you back yet again for the originally planned episode, which is Goonies. And that only came up because, well, you like 80s and 90s movies, and I'm going to be in that area where they shot the film.
A story?
Yeah, we're passing through there. We're going to be in Cannon Beach. We're taking the girls to the ocean while we're still free to do something like that and go across state lines, oddly enough. We could be like Australia and not be able to get home, that kind of a thing. But there are some welcoming signs I've been seeing in Australia lately, with people actually standing up for themselves, like they do in the movie Dirty Work. People finally standing up for themselves, and hopefully things start turning around. But yeah, so we're going to be down there, and that's why I wanted to do Goonies. And of course, I thought of you.
They have the house; you can drive by it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if the kids are old enough to watch that movie without being kind of scared, but I do want them. I'm going to let them know, like, hey, there's a movie that when you guys are a little bit older.
If I might, why don't you go on YouTube and just show them clips? Like when they discover the pirate ship, which is a really cool part. And there's a lot of clips that are kid friendly, not a lot of, no yucky kissy stuff and all that kind of stuff. So there are parts in that movie that you could just find the clips for them so you could get them excited about finding treasure. I think that's exciting stuff.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I will look into that. Maybe some top 5 scenes or something like that. It's a great movie. I remember that the Truffle Shuffle and
One-Eyed Willy,
the Baby Ruths.
That might scare them a little bit.
Yeah, Sloth might be a little scary.
Yeah.
But we will have you back for that next week, and we can hear more about anything else you've got that you're working on, and I'll have a full list of your prior appearances, including this one for Dirty Work.
Okay, you don't have to, because I just like to hang out with you guys because you're my friends.
Well, I appreciate that. We like you as well, and I'm surprised it's been as long as it has been since we've had you on. I don't know what it is, but actually, I do know what it is. I want to say earlier in the year, I just planned out like 4 or 5 months, just solid.
Happened. Yeah,
and then we got through that, and then I was like, okay, we only have like 2 or 3 now planned in advance.
Yeah, cool.
So we can be a little bit more responsive to things, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, that's really cool. You should, yeah, I should just schedule a couple for every month, and then leave one open so you could just do one that's going to be current event friendly, maybe.
Yeah,
balance.
yeah.
Oh,
That's how we slid this one into the wall.
yeah. Well, I'm really excited. Thank you. What an honor. I mean, honestly, what an honor to be able to share my love for Norm MacDonald, because I just really effing love that guy. I don't have hero worship. I just know I love him. I know I love him. That's it.
All right. Well, and it is an honor to be on such an illustrious show like ours.
Well, again, you're two people that I really, really really care about. And I feel like, I mean, considering, we're just know each other originally from social media. It's not like we call each other on the phone all the time, but I feel like you're my real friends, and I just really care about you both. So
Thank you, Raylene.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very heartfelt. Very heartfelt. Okay. I will definitely have you back next week for
Oh
Goonies.
God,
Now.
I did it, sucker.
Yep. You just snuck it in. All right. Well, hey, everyone, that's been our show on the great Norm MacDonald's Dirty Work. Not a great film, but a great guy and a great comedian, and much respect to him. Rest in peace, Norm. May you no longer be in pain. I know that, we'll get into maybe that in some of the bonus content we do upcoming, but he didn't let anyone know that this was going on for a long, long time. So anyway, we will be back next week with you, Raylene, for Goonies. So people can find the show notes more for this at lastnighters.com/196. And with that, we'll say goodnight from last night, everyone. Peace out.